Hi guys, welcome. Excited to be here with you guys. I'm just trying to do the Zoom thing. Ooh, my eyes are red. I've got like allergies, lips red, eyes red. I got a little talk there. Um, hope you guys are doing well. We're all just arriving, which is perfect. For me, it's morning. Not sure what time it is for everybody. And I had a fun morning thinking about boundaries and preparing to be here with you guys. I've had different ideas of how today's class was going to go. But I think what we'll do is we'll start with the workshop, then I'll take questions, and then we'll go to practice. But if you're only here for the workshop part, you can't come to practice. I want to really invite you to participate in today's boundary content so that you use it to serve yourself personally. So I think that um, all of us have something that we really want to protect, that we want to prioritize, that we want to make happen more in our life. And that can be the thing you focus on in today's workshop for yourself. So we're gonna start off by talking about the different kinds of boundaries. We're gonna look at how clients might show up in coaching with they may not know that boundaries is a skill that would help them. They may just show up really wanting to make a movie, write a book, be a yoga teacher, have a child, start a hobby like jogging, whatever it is. And what's getting in their way is a relationship they have with, you could say, setting limits on either parts of them. Well, here I go into an inner conflict. I don't like to ever set limits on a part of ourselves, but sometimes it seems like we are our worst enemy when it comes to protecting what we want and what we love to do. So there's a kind of dance there between we want to be kind to ourselves and we want to prioritize what our real needs are and where we need to um, put some limits so that we can prioritize what we care about. So I'm going to go ahead and share the slides because they are such a good way for me to kind of stay on theme in a way that I think is the most helpful. All right. So let's see. I wasn't expecting that I used a video there. Okay. So there's all types of ways that boundaries play out for us. Some people, I was thinking about it this morning and how like a person might show up in my life, a friend, a client, whoever it is, and you can see I don't have a lot of boundary distinctions there between friends and clients. It's people who show up in relationship with me, and we're talking, and I might notice, for example, that they have an incredible physical form. Like I can see even on the Zoom that their shoulders are really sculpted and I can see that they kind of hold themselves in a really wonderful way and they're able to breathe fully and they're taking really good care of their physical body. And yet they're talking to me about how difficult it is for them to have emotional boundaries. How they really need coaching because they have a lot of intrusion on them, either intrusive thoughts, intrusive emotions. People put tasks on them that they don't say no to, clear boundary problems. But one of the things I'm noticing at the same time is they do have a beautiful skill that they've already developed to create a boundary around their exercise. And that's evident in in the way they're presenting. Or I think of my one of my sisters and she has this incredible long, long, long hair, like insanely long, that she dyes multiple different colors. And she is like a makeup artist with herself. And I wondered, when she has a child, she has a 2-year-old now. I wondered, will she stop being able to do that? Will she cut her hair? Will she stop dyeing it? Will she stop being able to do such cool, wild makeup things? And one thing I noticed, maybe she does it a little less, but she still does it. And that takes a boundary. She sets the time to do her face and her hair the way she wants. Now, I think that's really cool. I think it's really cool that we may have boundaries, skills and boundaries we are not aware of. We may be struggling with certain boundaries, like other people's emotions or time to work on a project, and yet we might be able to recognize where we do have boundaries to take care of ourselves in certain ways. Like, I've always admired my friends who have really great sleep boundaries, you know, sleep hygiene. They go to bed at a certain time, they do certain rituals, they get solid 7 to 9 hours sleep. I'm just like, wow, I really struggle with those kinds of boundaries. Um, I struggle with a lot of boundaries. So this morning I was thinking, how do I present this about myself? I'm not the best boundaried person, right? Like, I get a lot of uh taking in other people's energy, even though I do so much to not do that. It's has to be a very conscious part of my life. I struggle with sleep habits. I struggle with exercise habits. I struggle with all kinds of things. And yet, when it comes to something I'm really focused on and I care about in my work life or in my family life or in my creative life or my spiritual life, I have great boundaries. I make sure it happens. I nurture those relationships or projects, and yet other things, not so good. So I'm telling you this because we're a combination. And when you're talking to someone and they're sharing a lack, it's interesting to get curious about, are there also skills already here? And that's why I like to start sometimes the work with boundaries in the noticing of what types of boundaries are we already good at. So share with me, share with everybody. What kind of boundaries are you already good at? Are you good at time? Do you show up on time places? Are you good at honoring a certain ritual in your life, a certain relationship, a certain part of your life, like whatever it is? Are you very neat and organized? Another one I'm terrible at. And we might have this idea that people who are very organized would have very healthy boundaries. They wouldn't struggle with this. Yet, that's not really true. People can have very, very good habits in one area, not so good in another. So, where are you guys at? Getting better at my sleep boundaries? Oh, I've got to share something with you guys. I found a breakthrough for my sleep. So maybe you guys already know about this, but there are YouTube videos where people take you on tours of their house plants, and it is possibly the best video to listen to when trying to sleep in the world. Now, I love houseplants. Like, I think I found a little sub niche of human beings that have something deeply in common with me. I'm like crazy about houseplants. And so I was looking up how to propagate because I want to make more babies from my plants. And that's how I stumbled across these videos. And of course, I happened to fall asleep while watching, listening. And it was the most soothing night's sleep just to be listening to people talk about their plants. So just had to share that. Okay, we've got some great shares here. All right, so this is what everyone's good at or they're getting better at: time, sleep, family time, food, health, fitness. Making my evenings about my family, always dinner at the table together and bedtime stories. Beautiful. Not good at boundaries in any area of my life. Okay, look closer. Look closer. Even things like, so when I was at my deepest struggle with boundaries in my 30s, I had a realization that I always had tea at the same time every day, and I loved a hot bath at night. And I thought that you don't normally think of that as a boundary. It's a ritual, it's a habit, but it was nurturing. So you can also look at this as, what do you do daily or weekly that nurtures you? And do you do things to protect that? And what we're doing here is we're getting resourceful and we're giving ourselves a little elevation. So this is really different than coaching where we're finding the problem or the root cause or what's wrong. We're starting out with, okay, I already have some skills. And then we'll look at how to create more skills. Commitments with other people. Vicky, I don't know if that was good at that or need help with that. Either way, I'm glad you're sharing. Time for myself, exercise, simplifying time for friends, good in meditating in the morning, exercising at least twice a week, good at that. Okay, that's awesome. So we're feeling into these skills. Angela, yes.
Hi, Magali. Hi, everyone. I wanna thank you, Magali, for such a transparent sharing, and I love it. I love it because as with our sometimes when we look at with the people that we look up to, the work, our coaches, our teachers, our guides, and the people who follow. And we tend to think that they just got everything just together all
Yeah.
the time. Yeah.
And then you come over to their house one day and you see the reality. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's awesome because it makes you feel it makes them feel human and real, and it makes you feel like, okay, if they struggle with this and that I'm not so bad at this. And I my work is focused on highly sensitives and empaths, and boundaries is a huge thing.
Right.
And I've been working with boundaries for a long time. I didn't even know the word, I think. And and I wanted to thank you because the way that you're presenting this is such a different perspective, because in the work with boundaries, we usually always focus on where we don't have boundaries.
Right. Right.
And
I know. I've always taught it that way too. Today's new. Today's new.
it's it's fantastic, and it's so needed because sometimes we focus on what we're not doing right, or perfect or good enough or whatever. And you just made me notice that, hey, you know what? Yes, there are certain places where I suck at boundaries, but some others I'm really good.
Yep.
And wow. So thank you very much for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing, Angela. That
Thank
was
you.
nice to hear. I like to know that it's appreciated that I'm being transparent, because I do feel like that's part of my job in modeling being a group coach too, and a group leader, is that we can be real and authentic. Because if we're holding ourselves like that, we have to be on some fake pedestal to be a group coach or a leader, it makes it really hard to do the teaching and the classes. But if we're kind to ourselves and we think people value our truth and being honest, it makes it a lot easier. I could have never become a teacher if I didn't make a key decision before my first live teacher training, and it was that I am not going to ever lie. So if someone asks me a question I don't know the answer to, I'm going to say I don't know the answer. I'm going to always honor anyone I'm working with that honesty. And sometimes it was difficult. I have to say, I had to also learn that sometimes it's okay like people would ask me a question about my family that was very sensitive to me because they knew I worked with my mom. And suddenly my throat would like choke up and I couldn't talk. And I had to listen to my body too and honor, okay, well, I'm being really authentic and honest and truthful, and I never want to lie about anything. It's also okay sometimes not to answer. And so we can also honor that in ourselves as a leader. We don't have to answer every question someone has. We that's a kind of boundary we set too, right? So this is getting a little more into leadership skills, but it's showing up. So why not? When you're leading any kind of class, whether it's meditation, coaching, education, whatever it is, there can sometimes be, I think of it as kind of like an archetype. And sociologists talk about that. And it's a student that for whatever reason they have a good reason. They're there to challenge you a little bit. So they enjoy kind of turning the tables on you, like the opposite of what Angela just did, the opposite energy. Um, this kind of archetype we could say is a little bit like a trickster, and it's like, I'm going to change our roles here, and I'm going to challenge you by asking you things you're not ready to answer or share about. I'm going to put you in a personal mode instead of a teacher student mode. And that's when we want to set boundaries and be like, okay, I recognize this. This is a thing that happens. This is a pattern. I don't have to dislike my student or anything. I can just say, hey, that's not something we're going to discuss today. And it's really easy. So we have to have statements ready that we can make. Once at a training event, Mark and I were, kind of fresh to training events. Maybe it was our fourth or fifth one. And on like the third day, some students just took over the stage and they did a ceremony for everyone. And it was okay. Like the ceremony they did, honestly, like it was fine. Had they brought it up to us the evening before and asked when would be a good time to do that, it would have been co-created and would have felt really good. The fact that it was impromptu and we had no idea what was coming and everything was shocking. And it made me realize, oh, I need some boundaries when I'm a leader that I didn't even realize I needed. So sometimes in our life also situations show up, roles show up that we didn't realize would teach us boundaries. Like if anyone here has ever cared for children or been a parent, did you ever go into it thinking it would be really different than it was? Even babysitting. So I did. I mean, gosh, I thought being a mom, I was going to have a lot more, not that I didn't have fun, I had a great time, but I didn't really realize until I was fully in the mom role how much structure I would need to create. And how my job was not to be, it sounds awful. It's like, of course, it's my job to be their friend, the child's friend. But I remember noticing, and I was a young mom, I started at 25. I remember noticing how like my two daughters that were very close in age were such buddies. And and this sounds so silly because it's like, duh, but like I was like the mom there. And I thought, wow, this is taking me by surprise. I thought I was going to get to be the buddy playing, but I need to make sure everyone goes to bed, everyone eats, toys are put away. And it was just a little surprising. So that quickly made me learn certain structure, right? And that's the same thing when we teach or when we coach. Nothing teaches us as quickly as being in that role. The first time a client has transference with you, you have options of how you respond. So one metaphor for transference, and I think Angela will know this one from actually another training that we're in together. And it's a metaphor of throwing a hot ball back and forth. So if someone might be struggling with something in themselves, like let's say their relationship to a parent, and then they throw you that ball as a coach, you can pick up that struggle and struggle with it too. And then you're kind of over merging with it, with that struggle, or you can get defensive and throw the ball right back to them. Neither are good choices. But if you realize, oh, they're giving me, they're transferring some of their feelings towards their parents on me right now, and I can be conscious of it. It's a natural thing that occurs. I don't have to take it personally. We can explore that, and I can stay centered and open and kind through this process, even if I'm getting triggered. And we can talk about our triggers as a coach too. We can say, this is where internal family systems work has really helped me. We can say, a part of me right now is responding this way. And I want you to know that's not my whole self. But I do, if you're feeling anything, I do want you to know there's a part of me that got a little nervous or got a little defensive there. And clients, again, that's that transparency. Clients really respect that in you. I'm getting a little off topic though. So Jody, jump in.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
So Angela made me think about this, and then as you were talking, isn't there a reverse where there's too much structure in place? There's too many boundaries? And
Sure.
we talk a lot about ensuring that there is some type of structure because there is safety within that. There is expectations, but I guess sometimes I feel that it almost stifles the opportunity for spontaneity and the opportunity for excitement or fun. And I don't know if it's just because of what my background being in theater and lighting design and wedding management. Like, I really had to have structures in place,
Right.
but it almost kind of leaked into the fact that I had set these boundaries. I didn't even realize there were boundaries in terms of like my feelings, and really cutting that off. So is that the same thing, or is that something a little bit different?
I don't know what you mean about the same thing. I think you're totally right that the flip side of needing boundaries is needing to be less armored, to needing, needing to be more open, more connected, more available, present. That would be playful, creative, spontaneous, flexible, curious. Those would be the qualities that some of our clients will definitely, and we are also will need or want. And a lot of the work we do with the creative mind and the sensing and the feeling of things supports that.
So I guess maybe then it's a matter of really getting curious then about the boundary that we want in place. What is the need for this boundary? What do we hope it to look like, to feel like? And so then that way it really does give us some more information than just the fact that, well, it'll help us to X. It'll, instead of just the goal, it really will create that space. Like, if I am on top of it when it comes to projects, it creates the space for me to be able to.
Spontaneous, yes.
Okay.
Yes. And
I
we'll
got
do that today in the process. So you're going to
Yeah.
see that in the process. We'll bring the creative mind in. What you'll hear when someone's needing to be less boundaried is there'll be a sense of needing to control everything, a fear of things falling apart. That need to control can be the need to control other people's emotions. It can be a sensitivity or a fear of, if I didn't have this structure in place, then who would I be? And this will happen when people go into a stage of life where they're no longer working. If they were very driven by work, if they're very driven by a schedule of some kind and they go on a vacation, they might feel lost.
So interesting, because at the end of my wedding season, it was like, we would talk about it as more of like it was a hangover of some sort. Like, you literally slipped into a bit of a depression because all of a sudden, that being geared towards the wedding season of knowing what's next, what's next, what's next, and then your schedule opened up. There was this feeling of, oh, I'm not needed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's interesting.
Yeah, and that happens after any events, like anyone in events or theater. Like, we even had that with training events. The whole team would take a day off after a training event, and we all felt not just energetically wiped out, but somewhat depressed because we'd
Yeah.
gone from being in that high connection state.
And it wasn't even just about that day. That's what it was like. It wasn't about the recovery because of that 18 hours on your feet. It was the recovery from the investment of the 9 months and the phone calls and the connections and stuff. And so, yeah, so it was always hard
Yeah.
to
Yet
recount.
it's good to know what jobs have that kind of rhythm, right? As coaches, it's good to be aware of, like, if you're talking to someone who's sharing about a kind of sadness or lack or sense of like free falling, not knowing what they're meant to do, it's good to know what led up to that.
Hmm.
Because sometimes you will find they were in service work of some kind, or they were in theater or some other type of employment that had that
Yeah.
structure. Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you for bringing this in. Absolutely. And we will do more classes on when we are over boundaried. And if any of you are confused, you're like, whoa, I don't think I have enough healthy boundaries and I'm really controlling. I hear you. These sometimes happen together. So, what I mean by that, again, we're so complicated, all of us, we're so unique. One of the ways that I coped as a mom was to try to keep everyone's emotions kind of stable and consistent. And you'd think, well, yeah, that's what every parent wants and that's what they do. But if you're more of a sensitive and an empath, you literally use your energy and your emotional reserves to keep others feeling okay. And when I really realized that had gone into a toxic negative pattern was when I woke up one day and couldn't stand up. My hip flexors, I was also doing a lot of yoga and everything, but I forget what that band is, but it stopped working in my body and I was on crutches and I hobbled into this incredible physical therapist's office. And she was a lot younger than me, I remember. And I'm on her table and she's doing something. She goes, whose emotions are you doing for them? What are you trying to control at home? And I went, everybody, about 8 people. And she goes, oh, are you ready to give up the ability to walk for that? Like, what are you ready to give up so that everyone else can feel something? And I was like, oh, no, I need to walk. I need to run. I need to do yoga. I need to be fit. And she was like, okay, well, then let's change that belief about doing everyone else's emotions. And she did this pressure work. Well, she's really one of the best practitioners I've ever been to. She's in Portland. She did this work pressing in on stuff as I changed my beliefs around doing other people's emotions. I got off that table, put aside the crutches, and I was walking. It sounds like one of these, like, amazing cures, but it was. It literally was. Like, there was an emotional component in the structure of my body that was somehow reorganized. And maybe it was from her pressure points, maybe it was, I don't know, but never had that problem again. So I wish I had her name was Chelsea. I remember that. But anyways, I don't have her contact. I wish I had it because I know people are going to ask me. Okay. So let's go back to the slides because I do have some structure here and I want you to have all of this information. So we've done the elevating. We've understood where we do have skills in some boundaries. Maybe those are rituals, maybe those are habits. Now, we also all have conditioning. And I don't know if I have a slide around this, but the way we grew up conditioned our belief around boundaries to some degree, or our relationships as children did. So sometimes parents, not meaning to, often not meaning to, will lean on their children emotionally. And then the child learns, my emotional boundaries are not really important. What's important is that I'm making mom or dad feel okay. And so just because as human beings, we have huge loving hearts, we want to take care of those who are taking care of us. And so we get conditioned to let people's emotions in, to be responsible for them. I know it's a future slide, but sometimes we might even, if you come from, I come from a belief system of past lives. You do not have to share my belief system, please. It can be a complicated belief system, not always so much fun. So, but in my belief system of past lives, I believe that I took a vow in a past life, and I also took the same vow early in this life. And it's a bodhisattva vow. And it's this vow that you're going to keep coming back as a human being as many times as it takes to relieve the suffering of all beings. Sounds beautiful in a certain spiritual way, right? And it is. Yet it can be confused by this human being who then thinks, so it's okay for me to suffer as long as I'm being helpful. So it's like taking that helper spirit to the point of hurting oneself, because it's like, I don't have to brush my teeth. I need to get the kids to school on time. I don't need to eat healthy because what matters is this, like there can be a lot of one's own needs being denied if one has, for whatever reason. You don't have to be, I'm not a Buddhist, by the way, anymore. I guess I was. Not that I'm not a Buddhist, but I'm not identified only as a Buddhist. So, it comes through in a lot of different traditions and a lot of different types of home, family, community rhythms, where being charitable, being service minded is the most important thing. And so it's not, when I share this, it's not that I don't admire that. I do really admire that. I do really think it's hugely valuable. And it needs to be in balance with our physical health, our relationships, our financial well-being. Many times coaches struggle with their desire to be of service over their desire to be financially stable. And so they're giving a lot of their time and energy to help others at no charge. And it's a beautiful virtue, but yet it's not serving their whole picture. So we need to find the balance in that. So then there's also just conditioning and beliefs around what is it okay for me to say no to? When is it okay to say no? Do I have to feel a certain way when I say no? And one of the more surprising things I find is when we realize that we can be very loving in our no. So we can say, I can't do that. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to get back to you. Or, I hear you. I'd love to help, but this is not a good time for me. And we can do that from a place of connection, kindness, love, not from a place of hostility or abruptness or feeling intruded upon. And this is really what I find emotionally to be a game changer for many people who have that very service driven personality spirit, is to be able to say a loving no shifts everything. And when we realize that why we are saying no to certain things, whether it doesn't have to even be other people. It might be our own invasive thoughts. It might be our own priorities, whatever it is. When we're having to say no, whether it's to someone else or to ourselves, we often have this undercurrent belief that it's just an act of denial instead of an act of support. So let's look at what are we prioritizing when we set a boundary. So right now, what in your life, and these are questions that you're going to ask each other as coaches too. So you're going to make the coaching really easy today because you're doing the pre-coaching. It's like, what do those young folks call the pre-game, pre-partying or whatever, where you drink a little before you go to a bar. We're doing that for coaching. We're pre-coaching. So what do you want to prioritize? Pick one thing, just one thing for today to look at. Could be a project, a relationship, time. For me, it's my house plants and my painting. I feel a little embarrassed saying that. I should have greater ambitions. But I really want to focus some time with my plants and my painting, this especially over the holidays. And then also, do you do what I do? Do you immediately kind of shame yourself a little around what you want to spend time on? Because, I immediately thought, oh, I should be saying I want to spend time with my family. I should be saying I want to write a book. I should be saying something that sounds a lot better than painting and plants. But yeah, I'm just being honest. So be honest. What do you want to prioritize? Okay. Hopefully you got some thoughts. So then, and here I'm talking more about the coaching session. So we're doing it a little lightly on ourselves to prepare, but then we're going to bring in the creative mind. So this act of creating boundaries is a creative, open process. It is not a closed, structured armory. Instead, it's a creative process. Imagine something, imagine the thing you're prioritizing, the thing you want to make happen, that you're setting the boundaries around. And now imagine protectors around it. What would they look like? Now, in a coaching session, I would before this, and I apologize, I should have had a slide here. You can take notes. So before the creative mind part, have your clients take some deep breaths, be present in their body. If you're an energy coach, have them ground their energy, or if you're just familiar with activation method, ground energy, breathe, be present, 2-minute practice. And then connect with creative mind with all of the ways we imagine, and look at what are my protectors around what I love, what I'm prioritizing. What do they look like? They could be values we have. They could be sounds, colors, objects, animals, whatever it is. Every time I teach, every time I coach, I set the boundaries in the corners of my room. And I'm lately just chanting, just letting the sound do it. Usually with the sound, there's some colors, but it's not like these are people or anything. It's just sound and color that I'm bringing in, like bright yellow here, loving pink. And I let whatever my voice wants to do to empower that. You could, sometimes people will have like chess pieces show up, or they'll have their protectors be like warriors of some kind that have a certain shape and body posture, or they'll imagine animals. Like, we can go wherever we want with this. Trees in the corner of our rooms, or not even in the corners of our rooms, around us. Sorry, I do that corners of the room thing, but in this creative mind practice, just thinking of them around us. Sometimes I do imagine a lion on each side. Again, those are my Buddhist roots. They're these Buddhist lions of that are like their deity protectors, and I can often like really feel into them just being on each side there, and very comforting. So protectors are comforting. Imagining the protectors is a comforting, loving, nurturing process. Again, that's an opening of the heart, knowing that we have these protectors. Okay, now Now we did that work. Now we're gonna find out who are the invaders. What invades your boundaries? Let's just know what it is. Get clarity, get curious. What tries to get in? Is it your thoughts? Is it people? Is it feelings? Is it requests, guilt, beliefs, duties? And like for me, it's often beliefs. It's not as valuable to paint a painting. You're not a talented painter. Or this is a kind of silly hobby you have that you want to have so many houseplants. Like these little inner put downs. For someone else, it might be literally people who tell them, hey, that's not valuable. Or if you've ever been in a toxic relationship with a partner, they can get mad. People can get mad at each other for having priorities. And that's pretty shocking to somebody who has not been in that kind of relationship. But if you have a client who's in that kind of relationship, they have a much bigger struggle. And often it's advised to not even share the priorities with a toxic person in their life, not to let them know. So you have a boundary even around what is most valuable to you, because you need to know who is safe and who is not safe to share your truth with. So now people can slowly become safer. I'm not one of those people that believes like there's no growth in someone's personality. I do believe some people can grow. Dr. Romney, one of my favorites, who doesn't let me put her on a pedestal either. But one of the things she shares that I love is that she was working with a narcissistic man. Now, he was a rare narcissist because he came to therapy, and he was married and he had a girlfriend. Now, in the therapy, the wife and Dr. Romney helped him understand her pain around him having a girlfriend on the side. He got it. He made an appointment with Dr. Romney on his own, and he said, hey, so I think I'm understanding it. It's really hurtful to my wife that I have this other relationship, and I'm thinking it's probably really hurtful to my girlfriend if I leave my wife and then I'm with her. It's going to be hurtful to her too if I want to have another relationship. And Dr. Romney was like, that's right. Other people feel hurt by this. And he said, so I think the best thing I can do is not have a wife and not have a girlfriend and just date people, because I'm not interested in not having multiple partners. Now, this was probably before open relationships were such a popular thing. And so Dr. Romney felt like, well, that was growth. He understood the reality of these two other people in his life, and he made a choice to not be in a committed relationship because it went against, he didn't want to change his patterns, but he understood them enough to decide to not be in that dynamic, to not keep creating that harm there. So I thought that was interesting. Anyways, that's a little bit of an aside. So who are your invaders? Have you had time to think? I've been chatting so you could think. Who are your invaders? Who tries to get in? And maybe you could even imagine your protectors, not you, but your protectors, telling your invaders, if they're not knowing, is this invader safe, unsafe? Is this invader an emotion? How does your protector change that emotion? Maybe it gives it love. Maybe it lets it know that it's not time. You can feel guilty tomorrow. Right now, we're going to protect your time to do art, to write your book, whatever it is. Okay. So now we're going to do, and you guys, you're the first group I teach this to in this sequence. So if it feels a little choppy, I understand. It will flow when it's in a coaching session. I'm actually going to ask I'm not going to do a demo today because I want you guys to feel it out and talk to each other about it. But I am going to invite one of you to volunteer to have this session with me so that I could put up a demo of this kind of coaching to have it all flow together for you to see it all in a flow process. Today, we're going to just kind of workshop it together, talking about these things. We don't even have to coach each other. We'll more share and process and talk about these different slides together. So, okay, let's do a little inner work, inner healing that is going to help us for the next stage. So get comfortable in your chair if you need some water. And let's just take maybe three deep breaths. And as you breathe, whatever way feels right for you, let yourself notice your feet and your seat. And maybe your lower belly and lower back too. And as you notice your lower body, let yourself imagine the roots of a tree going down into the ground. Stable, connected. You might even feel that sense of energy downward, open, expanded down energy. And as you inhale, you might feel that gravity, that earth's presence in your lower body. Some of you might imagine being a tree or a plant or a mountain. And we're going to just notice, what does will feel like in our bodies? Will, that sense of power and ability to move forward. Where do you resonate with that? Just check it out. Like, is there a kind of movement? Do the hands do something? Do you lean in a certain direction? What goes on when you say, where is my will? Where is my power and my kind of motivation to take action? Or is it really low? Notice for yourself, is it low? Is it strong? Is it very forward momentum, backward momentum? Are you confused right now? It's all okay. So often will is in the solar plexus area, and it's a place where we have digestion of what nourishes us, not only in terms of food, but also in terms of thoughts, beliefs, ideas. And if our will is low, if it's running low, if it feels weakened or diminished, if it might be the sense of like a candle flame that just can't find a steady light, it's flickering, then it can be hard to take care of the protection we need to prioritize something. So let's just do a little internal focus right now, where we give ourselves permission to have our own inner flame, our own inner power. What does that sound like as a permission statement? Could be, it's okay to be me. It's good to love what I love and protect that. And see what it's like to just sit a little bit more in your own self. A little, it might be that you lift your chest, it might be you lean back, it might be you smile or you feel your hips. It's okay to be me. I value myself. I'm going to prioritize what I need. any statements that come to you that feel true. And just know that you're allowing that. If we were to imagine that we are a candle flame, our candle flame is getting more concentrated, more steady. If there's some wind in the room, it doesn't affect our flame. It's more luminous. It burns brighter. Maybe it smells a little different. Maybe your candle has some beautiful smell with it, or some warmth. Okay. And see if there's a statement or a way you can connect with whatever you feel your life purpose is, or the process of getting to know your life purpose. My life has purpose. I connect with this inner flame, this inner permission to be me and to find out my purpose through my priorities. It's good just to notice if your focus is a little bit more in your front body or your back body. See what it's like to find center in your own way. And then we're going to move up to our throat. And just imagine a lovely kind of elixir or quality that you allow your throat to be nurtured by. Maybe your protectors come and give you a special tea or a special kind of honey. Maybe it's a color or a flower. And you might swallow to connect with your throat. And let's just imagine that we have a special creative mind drawing tool. And we can draw on our throat center a beautiful flower, each petal of that flower. And you can use your finger to do this. You can use your mind's eye. Just drawing a flower on your throat. And as you draw this flower, you're giving your throat the extra love and attention it needs so that your expression, your voice, your truth, your clear listening and communicating and sharing flows easily. So you're doing your own balancing work here of this throat center, just through imagining this drawing of a flower here. You're doing a great job. And just notice now if there's an inner voice, your soul's voice, that shares with you about your intention for your priority, for what you're cherishing, what you're protecting with your boundaries. A little bit of your soul's wisdom speaks to you now. Maybe you feel it, maybe you hear it as words, or you see it, or you just know it, and you know your own worthiness. And just breathing as you do this. And for a moment, just connecting to the whole body and imagining a gentle wave that goes up the body as you breathe in and down the body as you exhale. Let's just do 3 wave breaths, breathing in and gently moving up the body, Breathing out and gently moving down the body. Breathing in, up. Breathing out and down, relaxing, releasing, grounding. Okay, and when you're ready, opening your eyes if they were closed. And so in a coaching session, after we do that process, we would then move into what we want to communicate to protect our boundaries. How will that sound? What will the emotion be? We can practice with our client. How do they want to feel as they empower their communication? And so it's a very loving way to practice setting those boundaries. And what I find in, let's say, conversational coaching is some people are able to touch into that without the meditation, but some level of that meditation can really help people who are very in their heads with it, and they're just planning what they're going to say or what they're going to do, but it's harder to feel it in the body or in the emotions. And so when you do like a 5-10 minute practice like that, they are then much more connected with that inner flow, that inner resource, that inner voice. And then we're going to, in the session, after practicing what it's like to, and you might even guide them to like, pretend I'm that friend who always asks for a favor. And then empower yourself, know your protectors are there. Feel your own inner purpose. And then say to me as your friend in the way that feels comfortable that you can't do that thing right now. Or say to your thought or your belief that it's not time for you right now. So you practice with that. And then we're going to move into the future where we help our client imagine the thing they prioritize, seeing and feeling it. If they can't see it, that's okay. Totally okay. They can think it. And tuning into the vibration of those acts that they do to make the project real, or that habit or that relationship. So they are shifting themselves into the state, or we can say different things, state, emotions, frequency, vibration of that thing that they have prioritized. So in my case, I would just imagine my protectors are all around me. I've communicated my no's to my inner critic that tells me I'm not spending my time wisely by painting. I'm saying, hey, invaders, you can hang out outside my studio door. And then I'm going to just imagine that sweetness of being in flow as I'm moving color around a canvas. And that frequency, that feeling I get of connection through doing art. And just giving it a couple minutes to really feel it. And know that even as we do this, we are kind of setting into motion that future action. So it could be for someone going on a date with their partner, they're prioritizing. And they're feeling, imagining being on that date. Or maybe it's a work thing they're doing, or a friend thing, whatever it is. As they imagine it, they're moving themselves into that future frequency. So again, this is different than a lot of boundary work. We include the communication about the boundaries, knowing what the invaders are. That's part of it. But we're also really elevating and prioritizing the thing itself. What do you guys think? Let me know. Hi, Inez.
Hello. Hi, everybody. This reminds me of my personal practice when I was doing things, I would say, without knowing steps and structures and having things done. But I learned a lot in the last years about getting to know myself, and I think you have combined this feeling comfortable or uncomfortable just when we take this, is it feeling wide or tight in me, as a could be a very simple orientation thing. And then I realized, oh man, it's so many times it's tight and I don't know what to say because I haven't clear what it is, but I really don't want to be with that person anymore. And I see there's a big need. I had this as a topic last weeks, and this person is very sick and needs a lot of help and is a bit, for me, narcissistic. But I made it, I have to say, we had one strategy running the last weeks, and I think it was the 4P, something like that. I made it through with that. And I decided not to talk with her because she would pull me in, I knew, and tell me things where she knows, oh, I am a helper, and, and I decided to write an email, which I normally don't do, but I did that to give myself the space and the room. And I was focusing unconsciously on how relaxed I would be when this would be done. So I
Right.
see that these
So you did
steps
it
are all,
naturally.
yeah.
Yeah.
And this happens to me, I mean, with, it needed, let's say, from doing the strategy with one of our students, which was wonderful. It took me then, it helped me so much to be decided that this is the right thing. It empowered me so much that I wasn't having this, feeling guilty and she's still and all this stuff. And then I was so ready, and I thought, now it has to be done. It was done then after 3 to 4 days. So it took a while to process.
Yeah. Yay.
And
I'm so glad.
it was really cool. And I have to say, but there's a combination for me with a manifestation process in the end to focus on what I like and what I want, and an allowance. What I learned from you, it's huge for me to allow that, what I like, to follow that, and to be friendly with that, with myself first, and then setting friendly boundaries. And the strategies you offer, they're very helpful, at least for me in this way.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful for that. So this is a huge combination of different ways how people teach it outside, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I like how it showed up. It showed up this morning this way. I thought I was going to do the same old boundary strategy, and no, it needed to be a little different today. So I'm glad.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And let me see, how do okay. I always want to give you guys the guides in advance and everything, and then what happens is things show up different the day of the teaching. And so sometimes I do sometimes we will follow the Practice Lab guidebook that has it all there. So if you guys are wanting that structure, it's there. But just the way I am is that the morning of the training or the day before, new ways of working these concepts will appear. So that's why I try to make a slideshow for us. And you guys have I'm gonna add the link here to the PDF of all of these slides, and you'll also have this slideshow with the recording of this class in your classroom. But I will add that in a second. Let's hear from Maite. I'm trying to. I'm trying.
Perfect. No, that's good. It's fine.
Maite.
Nothing.
You know that did you know this, that there's a Native American nation with your name?
No, but I love it.
Oh, yeah.
Really, Mike?
In Canada, I believe. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. Okay.
I have 2 questions. And one, it has, like, for example, I find this so helpful. You have no idea. These meditations that you do, even the other one, the last one that you sent, I think it was a replay. It was so helpful.
Good.
But I don't know how to, I don't know if it said I get so self-conscious. I don't know how to lead it. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I listen to it right now and I'm like, I had to stop because I started taking so many notes because I have clients that, oh my God, I'm like, I could use this with this client. I could use this. And it's then I'm like, then I criticize myself. I'm like, oh, I should have said that. I should have gone there because this would have been so helpful with a client that I had this morning. But how do
We
you,
all
because
have that though. We all have that, you know.
oh
After
no, but
with someone, we always have that. I do that too. Oh, I wish I had done that. So
yeah, but this person's dealing with these boundaries and it's a trance, and then this would have been great, especially the
oh, you'll
flame
do it
like
next time.
holding.
Yeah.
But so what I'm trying to say is I get so self-conscious. I think it's that because I cannot do like I don't feel like I could do these. There's a lot of strategies that I could do, but when it comes to these things, and you go into this flow, and it's just so
So you
perfect.
mean the meditation part was the part that would be the struggle?
I don't know. How do I learn how to do that without putting myself like how do you learn how to do it without
You learn by
practicing with
doing
other
it
people?
first. My way is first alone in a room. I don't know if you have a dog or a plant you can do it with.
I have 3 and a bunch of plants.
Okay, good. Okay. So you do it with your dogs and you just that's how I taught myself.
Okay.
First practicing alone in a room, but doing it out loud just for 5 minutes. So start with just helping someone connect with their breath and grounding their energy. Imagine you could talk about imagining you're a tree.
I could do that, but then this other stuff, all these creative things that you go
Okay,
into.
and then the next parts of that meditation. So I like to think of it like a dance. So like if not that I was ever a dance teacher, I was a yoga teacher. So yoga's the same way. But you know how dance teachers, like if you're learning, have you ever like taken a dance class where they teach you one step and then they add the arms and then they take you through it again and then they add something, you know what I mean? And it's kind of if you broke it all apart, it's this step and then it's like it's all in parts. That's why engineers are so good at learning to dance because they see it all as these different parts that come together. So that's
Okay.
a little bit, that's just the way my mind works with meditation. If I thought I've got to lead a half-hour meditation,
Okay.
but if I think, okay, my meditation is in 7 parts. For a little while, I'm going to talk about this, for a little while this, a little while that. It de-stresses it for me anyways. So that
Okay.
was my
Yeah.
method of learning. So then you'd think, so the way that meditation for the boundaries thing, okay, then so we got grounded. Then we talked a little bit about will and motivation, and we added some words, some empowering words. So you could simplify it and be like to your client, let's just find now how some empowering words can help you in your body.
Okay.
And you've got like 4 statements that they're going to say internally and feel it in their body. That would be a simplified version. Good to start with. Now we're going to go up the body a little bit and check out what it's like to be with your throat area where you have expression and communication. And now let's see if we can draw a picture of a flower there. And you can talk to them, they can use their finger, they can imagine it, and they can even invite some kind of special tea that they imagine drinking or honey that
I
is
love that.
to that. And then we just did breathing and flowing of breath up and down.
Well, believe it or not, that was very helpful. I was looking at it
Oh,
like,
we did
okay,
the candle flame. I brought in the metaphor of the candle flame.
which I loved because it's like being in your frame and then just, kind of, yeah, I loved it.
And so I know that it can, I get it, that it feels like a lot. And I know that when I do it, I'm doing it from a, almost like you could say a trance state or
Yeah.
a state of connection with my unconscious or my guides or whatever. So I think it makes it a little, unfortunately, a little extra intimidating sometimes when I teach it. But if you break it down into steps and stages and you try, like you have your notes like that, just these 4 steps, and you just see what words you want to say in a very slow way about it. And you can have little notes to yourself like candle flame, statements of healthy will, statements of healthy expression.
That's awesome. Thank you
Does
so
that
much.
help?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Because I was looking at like, wait, I gotta get into flow, and then if I had, but just looking at it in parts, the dance thing, believe it or not, helped. Even though I'm not a dancer, but whatever. Thank you.
I'm not a dancer either, but
Yeah.
a lot of things in life are that way, right? That we have to think of, we have to break it down into its steps in order to do the whole thing.
Yeah, I was looking at more like I need to be go into spiritual flow and get inspired, but then that intimidated me because what if I get caught up in the middle and then I forget whatever. Anyway, so yeah,
I agree. I
criticizing.
agree. There's a lot of pressure that can come with that feeling that we have to be like in some spiritual flow. And I think instead it's like, I don't know what tradition says this, but it says, I'm forgetting the quote, but it's like, almost like awakening is an accident, but we practice meditation to be accident prone. So it's like that flow will happen, but we follow the steps and then the flow will show up. But if we're focused on having the flow, sometimes we get tense around it and then we blank out even the steps. So I go about it like practice the steps, notice when the flow is there, invite the flow to be there. The flow is really important, but if we
Invite the flow to be
pressure
there.
ourselves, it won't work.
Invite the flow to be there. I love that. Would I be able to ask just one
Yes, of course.
very quick?
I love your questions.
I mean, I don't want to like, I want to be respectful and keep the boundary of this, topic. But I just want to point one thing out, say something, and then see if you could point me in the right direction of
Sure.
a strategy or something that you think would be helpful, or meditation or something. So I'm working, and it's today. I have a client who's a teacher. Very quickly, the whole thing is a long story, but she's taking a break from school. She's been in the same school for 20 years. It's one of these magnet schools. The parents have a lot of money, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, there's a kid, she's African American. There's a kid in the class, teenager. Him and his mom just created a video game. And the video game is where it's about shooting and she's the target. They want you win by killing her. So I'm like, when she told me that, I was like, so it's gonna be my second session with her. I know, and I'm like, so I'm like, I don't know if it's good, because she was like, oh my God, it felt so good to at least share it with you, because she's trying to. So I basically went into a little bit of coaching and going into like good steps to take for protection first, all of that stuff. But then now I'm thinking, well, am I going to, if I continue going and allowing her to speak about it, will that be re-traumatizing? Would it be better going into more of like something of a boundary? Anyway, there's a lot of fear around it, and she doesn't want to go back to the school. They have not taken the kid.
Yeah, and that's like rightful fear. Like I think of that. That's like I would work on empowering her. What does she need to take the actions in her life to be safe? So is there a legal situation? What has the school react?
that part I've been dealing with, and there's no legal. Actually, they're saying, they literally said to her, the police of the school, that, what is it? What did they tell her? That it's not, they cannot, it's not illegal per se, or whatever the proper word is, because he didn't say they was gonna kill her, but the game itself implies that they're gonna shoot her. So because the words were not said that they're gonna kill her, I don't know. There's something weird there. So I'm like, we gotta go to the regular police, and then
Well, I would think she needs to. Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
is she gonna do all of that? But what I'm
That's
wondering,
her business about.
yeah,
But what does she need to feel safe right now? And I wouldn't go, if that's her priority. What is her priority right now?
I was just wondering if you had like other, like maybe a meditation or something, like to lower the fear, because she goes like, she doesn't go into anxiety, but she goes more into the hypo, you know what I mean, like the flatness, the um
So
fear,
she
the fear.
freezes. She
She
freezes.
freezes. Yes, exactly. She freezes. She fawns.
So what I would maybe look at is helping her feel okay with feeling the anger,
Okay.
pain, whatever it is, because I think those emotions, when we flatten out in a freeze, freezes mean we don't move, we don't take action. And I'm thinking in this very real life situation, she needs to take some actions to be safe and protected. And so what emotions are going to help her, what people, I
I
would
did
actually
that.
say, unless she wants a meditation to calm the nervous system, you can do any meditation just to focus on breath and bringing in resources of nature. And knowing she can do that just for a few minutes when she needs it, because
Yeah, I
it's
taught her the breathing, the
her.
box breathing. I taught her about the box breathing. You know, she didn't know how to breathe, so all of that. And then, so I was thinking that first session, of course, I went into the, you know, what steps can she take, empowering her. We went more into like creating steps, which I don't know. She froze so much she couldn't come up with ideas. So I helped her on that. So I'm wondering for this one, I like the idea of
And
allowing,
the
you know, allowing her
importance
to
of
feel the
taking
pain.
care of one of the things when see, I view this also on an energy level, that it's a big energy attack. It's an
Yes.
emotional attack and an energy attack. And to make sure she's moving and releasing anything that's accumulating in her body with tension. So the long exhales, stretching, however she feels good about movement, to make sure that that's releasing from the body. But probably like you, my first priority is her physical well-being. And like if she needs permission to feel, to get out of that location, like I don't know, I'm that seems like I don't know her whole overall picture, but that seems like a really good reason to move.
Oh, exactly. And she's part of the union, the teachers union. So I kind of like, she was so frozen, she couldn't come up with a bunch of things, you know, what to do. So we did that part. But of course, I went into that and she's got a whole plan. And she was like, oh, that's a good idea. I told her like to shake, you know, to move the energy out, to the breathing. The thing about me is like, okay, well, the second session, I wanted to I like the idea of getting her into feeling the anger, the pain. But then I was thinking, well, if I go in that direction, am I going to allow the re-traumatization? But probably not, because she's frozen. So never mind. That's awesome.
Well, and one thing I would say, so from the trauma informed lens, we can say to a client, you know, you're only letting in as much of the feeling as you can right now, as is comfortable. You never have to let in more than you can handle.
Right.
But it's safe with me if you want to be with how that feels for just 30 seconds. I'm here to help you do that. And by the way, this is the same. I know this is an extreme situation, guys, but if you're working with a client going through a divorce, going through a toxic work environment, a toxic family system that is shaming them, it's not different. A whole bunch of people react in a freeze, and they need to feel safe in taking in little amounts of the reality so that they can protect themselves, so that they can have that healthy response. That like if someone is stepping on your toe, you push them to get off, right? A horse, let's say a horse steps on your foot, you're going to push on that horse to get it off your foot, right? When we're in a traumatized response, we don't get the anger to push the horse off our foot. And we have to take it in just little sips so that we're able, because to protect our psyche, we develop cognitive dissonance from the pain. It's too much to bear. And whoa, I mean, this is not hers. I mean, I'm sure she knows this is that family's.
I don't know. She was taking it personal, so I'm going to work a little bit on that also. And I try to think of what other teach, because she's been there for 20 years. And I'm like, well, what are the resources that, you know, I went into the resourcing
Yeah,
and
I would imagine that like in a healthy school, the principal would get involved. There would be a
yeah.
whole community meeting about why this is
The teacher, the kid was suspended for, I don't know, like very little time, the one that did it with the mother, and then the parents got a lawyer in order to sue the school for having, and I'm like, that's anyway, I've never heard of this. I thought it was
No,
so
you
wow.
take on some biggies. You do not get easy clients.
That's why I'm here, because you're awesome. You give me the best
Interesting. I
strategy.
don't work with
You're the
anyone
best. I'm
challenging
telling
like
you.
you do.
No, you're
Wow.
these
Oh.
meetings and these meditations and these I'm telling you, it's so much better than any freaking PhD or MSW or anything. You're coaching.
I'm so
You're
happy it serves you, because I mean, we all
absolutely.
want to support you and these clients.
You're being a bodhisattva here for sure.
Okay, and Inez, and I know Inez, probably you're feeling a lot of compassion as a teacher too. Do you
Yes.
want me to partner you with Maite so you guys talk together?
Yeah, because I have experiences with that. Exactly. I was attacked like this, not in the same way, but I can tell her what happened. And this is great about boundaries, to find out for that client. It's a strong learning process, heavy, not easy, but it's doable, you know. And yeah, you have to find
Great. I'm going to
new
put you guys
facts about
together.
that.